and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
All right, it looks like we might be. And there we go.
Awesome.
We are on the correct channel and everything. All right, welcome. I'm excited. This is our first live on Creative You Business. So very apropos that I have you here with me, Deborah, but I will just start with our intro and a little bit about you before we get started. And welcome to the Aligned Ambitions Show, where we share women's entrepreneurial wisdom. So are you a woman starting or growing your online heart-centered business? Are you wanting to do things differently? Do you feel icky about using manipulative marketing tactics and are ready to align your business with your ethics, values, and life goals? If so, then stick around for this conversation. Today I have with me Deborah Epstein of Cosmic Dreaming Lodge. Deborah is a visionary artist and a passionate advocate for healing, spirituality, and celebrating diversity. As a shamanic practitioner, myofascial release body worker, transformational coach, and creative spiritual guide, Deborah has spent years empowering women to create their soul alignment and to live their most empowered lives. Deb and I also have a live show that we do on another channel, Creative You Healing, and called Connection with Spirit. So we're very used to this, hanging out together on YouTube. Welcome, Deb.
Thank you, Larissa. It's awesome to be here in this format, talking about business. And I think first, I just want to say thank you to those who jumped in and helped out so that we could be live today. I was like so excited when I sent an email to my community and they answered. I got emails back saying, I just signed up. So I was like, thank you so much for helping us reach that goal so that we could be live today. So we're on our way.
Absolutely.
Right?
Thank you. Because our first 2 episodes, we couldn't go live because I made that mistake. Forgetting that because we're live all the time on the other channel, so it never even crossed my mind. But that's just one of those things that you work around. And we had a contest, and we got people in here, and here we are.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know you, Deb, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Well, let's start with that. Tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I live in Sedona, Arizona. I'm like, oh, there's just, when you get asked that question, you're like, which direction do I go? And there's just so many stories to tell about me. But I'm a business owner. I've owned businesses, like I would say, all my life. I've always had that entrepreneurial sort of mindset. I've only really worked for a few people in my career and or my lifetime. And decided I just do better on my own. So not that I don't work well with others. It's just, I have like a calling. So I follow my calling. I'm primarily a healer and an artist. That's kind of the undercurrent of anything that I do business wise. It has that spiritual healer creativity thread. And about 7 years ago, it was a dream and a goal actually to move out here, and it, staying on target with that goal. It took me from when I announced it in 2010 to 2016 is when we moved out here. That was a totally magical experience on how that unfolded. I won't share that here because it's a long story, but so yeah, basically, my expertise or my gifts lie in connection and helping. I use the word healer, but I use it loosely because what I do is I help you find the healer within you. And everyone has that ability to be creative, even though I've heard people say I don't have a creative bone in my body. We're just inherently creative. That's what I believe. And we also have the ability to heal anything, I believe, as well, too. And it's just a matter of whether you're here to be in the thing you don't like being in as a soul growth thing, or you're off track with your soul's mission. So we do a lot of deep inner soul work in the work that I do. And that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that. I think that's an important thing to speak to is this, are you living your life's purpose, right? Are you
Mm,
here doing the work you were meant to do?
mhm,
And I would say for the majority, maybe not. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for them. But when you see the discourse that so many people have and the work that we do, I'm not sure that they are. And
mhm.
that's sad.
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot. I mean, I know the backstory. I talk to you all the time. Um,
Mhm.
what was the catalyst? And share whatever part of this you want. What was the catalyst for you to change how you do business?
Okay. Um, so let's see. I want to go back a little bit because when I moved to Sedona, I gave up my practice, my bodywork practice. And the way I ran my business there, I would say it was kind of magical because it was more based on word of mouth. It was more in person. It was more person to person. It was a lot more personable. I knew how to work. I knew how to work the energy on it. So it's not necessarily like, oh, I'm going to write a blog post so that I will get more clients. I just kind of followed my instincts on knowing that staying connected with people I'm treating and being of service to what they may need is an energy infusion into my business. And then I started working for my mentor who did business completely different. And it was coming from a very different place. And I ended up working for him for almost 3 years before I said, this is not this is not aligned to me. I mean, it was a good soul path. I was following my soul path and I learned a lot through that. But I really through that learning, I also knew it was time for me to leave and go back on my own. And from that point on, I had made a lot of great contacts, because I do really good work. And so I established a very good name for myself working at for my mentor. So I had a good contact list. So when I went out on my own, I actually didn't have to do much work. People just contacted me almost immediately because actually I wanted to take a break. I wanted to rest for a little bit. And, because I was at that stage of burnout. And so I wanted to rest a little bit. And it was just beautifully arranged the way the universe works. When you allow the flow, when you get out of the survival mindset and you align to, hey, whatever, you're taking care of what your heart needs, and what your body needs. And it's so funny because, with that being said, it just kind of popped into my mind that a lot of people, because I was doing what I wanted to do, the people that I was working with, of course, had something to say about that, like, oh, she must be independently wealthy and blah blah blah. Let me just share with you, we're not independently wealthy. I just took a leap of faith. I do that often in my life. It always works out for me. I always land on my feet, but it doesn't mean that it's always easy, because what happens when I do that leap, it gives me an opportunity for things to come up that I need to look at, that get to move, And so I reached that point again. Well, I'm skimming over a lot, but I ended up, through COVID, changing how I did business because everyone was doing that, right?
Mhm.
But just before COVID happened, about 3 months before, I got this it was just this synchronistic sort of happening where I found myself at Shanda Sumner's zone event. And I was like sitting in the zone event going like, what the heck am I doing here? Why am I here? And I was with two other friends and they're like, oh, we should do this program. We should do this program. And I'm like, no way. I'm like burned out. There's no way I'm doing this program. And then by the end of the thing, all three of us had signed up. And we signed up not just for like, the low ticket item. We're like the whole shoot and match, the leadership coaching program, all kinds of stuff. Right. And it was so funny. And I fought it. And because what it teaches you how to do is to do online marketing and to learn how to create summits. And man, that was an initiation of it in and of itself, because I like to be behind the scenes. I don't like to be in front of the camera, but look at me now. Like, I'm on a live with you and chatting it away. Like, back then, that would have been what I would have been torturing myself for like weeks, knowing I was going to be on a live with you. Right. And now it's just, I'm just so comfortable. So it's like those initiations of doing those things that were hard, that I was like, what the heck are you doing? Like that inner part of you that goes, what are you doing? You're threatening my existence. Right. That need to stay small, or that need to hide, or whatever it is, And so what ended up happening is I did my first summit. I created an email list of people and a Facebook group of people I could go in and talk to. And I started a program, and then COVID hit and it filled up. And I was like, wow, well, look at this, and I was so amazed, because it was at that moment when I found myself doing this that I went, oh my God, it was because I listened. Even though you hear through that story, like, I'm doubting it. Like, what the heck am I doing? Let me fight with it some more, but here I am. And so this year it became time to do that again. And it was a year ago in January. It was like halfway through January. And I was talking to another friend of mine who's also an online entrepreneur. And I was supporting her in filling one of her programs. She had this program that she was doing, that she had been doing for like 3 years. And like, for some reason, she just wasn't able to fill it. She did a big summit. I was in that with her. And she asked if I would do, a mailing for her to let my community know what she was doing. And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. You want to do a live, you can go into the Facebook group and, I'll support you that way. And then we were getting ready to do that. And then she just kind of said, I'm just really getting this call that it's time for me to be done and do something different. So I was like, wow, okay, cool. Cause we were talking back and forth about, I was feeling that too. But then I was like, am I picking that up because she was in it so much, or is it really me? And so as the year went on, we got into March, and I really knew by March, I needed to change something. My soul was asking me for time to work on these paintings behind me, these guide paintings. Those are all guides I've been working on since I started this business, the Cosmic Dreaming Lodge. They are part of the medicine field that I carry. And they have a story. They have a deep history. They're archetypes for, I would say, kind of like the cosmic consciousness that, we're in and we're starting to dance around right now. And they're just asking me to give me all of their time and attention. So I am, it's been really just recently where I went, I think I'm going to take a sabbatical. I'm going to still maintain certain elements of my business, which is keeping in communication with those people who follow me. And it just feels really heart aligned. And this is really the first time I'm coming out and saying this, because it's really been I think I only said that to you either this week or last week when we met, that this is where I think I'm at. And so it has a light feel to it. I went through the fear of it through the summer because I was really hanging on tight, because I'm like, no, I can't let this go. That was me creating in survival mode. That was me creating down here in the lower chakras, not in my power. I was really struggling with my own self, not anything else but myself. Because it's interesting. I've never really done it that way. I've always kind of, listened. I've listened. And even though I may not have wanted to do it, I took the steps anyway. And this was a really different kind of decision making. It was like a whole initiation into the shadow sides of my lack belief systems, where where I struggle with my not enoughness, where I struggle with leaking my power out everywhere, and we, I would say we as women, but we as humans, because we all do it, but, I think our audience is mostly women. We actually, as women, get trained to be less than. And I really, like, as I said that, I was thinking of my dad. My dad passed in May. And I was like, I think that's where the initiation started, is because he left the planet. He left his spirit, his energy, left our family group, left our group consciousness. And it allowed me to see things in a different way that I wasn't able to see, because he was a very big presence. And I didn't realize that until he was not there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, it's just a very, I don't know, I went off on a lot of different tangents. So I'm going to like rest there for a second and let you kind of catch up with me.
I love it. I love it. And I love the sharing of your story, because you went through, many years, and the changes that you've made, right? It's not just one time. You're constantly aligning, constantly course
I just get
correcting,
chills.
if you will. And
Yeah.
I think that's a really important point. And I know you and I have talked about this, where, we get this idea and we move forward and we think, oh, we just go, go, go. And if we just keep doing it. But at some point you have to stop and go, all right, what do I really need? What is my purpose? Am I living that? Am I moving towards that? Or am I pushing through because I don't want to give up? I don't want to be a quitter. Whatever the story is we're telling ourselves. And it can be a really difficult place to be in, because we can get caught in, if you're anything like me, am I listening, or am I sabotaging? Or maybe sabotaging is the listening. Like, so then I play the head games with myself. And so I usually wait till I get hit upside the head with a 2x4 before I actually do the shift. I'm learning to listen before it gets to that point. What were the things that you think you noticed that helped you align? And it does take time. It's not a one and done thing.
Right.
What were some of those signs for you that helped you align?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I'm like, first I just have to say that, like, I loved your reflection on that it's a constant course correction, that life is it's so nonlinear, but we have this linear mindset instilled within us. And it's really both and. There is the linear and there is the nonlinear. But I think when you're following your soul path, you have to get ready for the bumpy ride, right? So some of the signs, well, it's so funny because this, there were certain things, it's funny, I'm thinking back to like the help in my business. I could not maintain someone to support me in like a virtual assistant sort of way. And I felt like Murphy Brown. If anyone has watched that show, there's like almost like this running joke in there that every time they show up at our office, there's a different office worker there. And I felt like that because I'm like, and it's not that they were bad. It was just like something was just always not working out about it. And through that experience, I kind of noticed, like, I let things ride long past when I should, just say we're done, so that was one big lesson, and then there was a lot of little things like that. That's what I started noticing, is like, why am I sitting here in this struggle? Why am I struggling with this? And so what really kind of happened was, it was a slow peeling back all year, through certain programs that I had offered, certain clients that I was working with. It's like, when you're done with a client, it's more of like reading the energy of what does that client need from you, right? And are we done? And sometimes, like, if you're coming from a place and this is the dance of being a healer and a coach. is that you own a business, and your livelihood stems from your business. And it is such a dance of integrity to know when the person you're working with is done with you, because certain ones will want to stay with you forever because they're used to you, they're comfortable with you. And that's a danger, because when you get into this comfort zone with your clientele, nobody's growing because you know each other too much. And so sometimes to shake it up, it's good to fire your clients, or not, not like you're fired, but allow them to make their choices of what's right for them. Give them permission to free themselves. And that, yes, that may be scary, because that means that means I guess I get to get more clients. So we get to change our mindset around, being of service on a broader perspective. Those who are meant to come in will, and those who are meant to leave, we need to let go, so it was seeing a lot of that. So as the year went on, just programs weren't launching very well, if at all. I would pull the plug on certain ones because I'd see it and it's the analytics. I'd look at the back end of things and look at the analytics and oh, no one's even looking at this. I'm just pulling the plug. It's not landing, or, just allowing things to dissipate, allowing things to peel away. And it got to the point in September where the biggest sign for me was I had just done a summit. I could feel the energy movement in the community, because when you do a summit, it livens up everybody. There's a lot of popping and talking and all that kind of stuff. There's an excitement energy, and I chose that time to launch a informational sort of program, and one person signed up for it, and I was like, all right, I don't need any more signs. I don't need any more signs. I need to shift something. So there, and I have to say too, that there is no wrong in the journey. You get it when you get it. And I think what it taught me too is, because I could say, oh, I think I let it go longer than I needed to, because I knew what I needed to do and I was just afraid to do it. If I would have just done it right. I mean, you just get a different set of lessons. That's all. You get a different set of learning. It's think of everything as a learning path. Every path you take is a learning path, instead of looking at it from a perspective of every path I take is going to be paved with gold and I'm going to be showered in it. I mean, that does sound wonderful, but if everything goes perfectly for you, everything goes perfectly, because everything does. It's just whether you like it or not, right? Everything goes your way and you love it and everything's going wonderful. What fun is that? What are you here for? Right. And I think we have that idyllic, the utopia somewhere in our mind that I did everything right. And so now I'm living in this paradise. We don't live in that world. I think that's the world we're all collectively wanting to create together. But in order to do that, we have to take our learning paths.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And what I'm thinking of while you're saying this, because you get to a certain point and you're paying attention and you're doing the things and you are, aligned, or you're at least in awareness of spirit. And then you're talking to someone who is new in business and maybe doesn't have the same spiritual know-how, maybe, right? I don't know how else to say that. Doesn't seem quite right, but
yeah, I think spiritual trust, or the trust in spirit.
Yeah, maybe trust. Yeah. That's a much better word.
Faith, trust. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I get what you're saying though.
Yeah, and they're like, okay, it didn't work. It's obviously it's not the right thing. And that's not necessarily true. And so trying to negotiate through that with somebody, right? How do you know? And it's that inner knowing and listening, because often we know long before we listen. I would know nothing of this, of course. But And trying to explain that to someone. So it's like, no, you need to stick to the thing, right? You need to stick to the thing, but really knowing that that's the thing in the first place.
Yeah.
And,
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. I think actually, as you're talking, I'm like, I think this journey kind of shed a little light on that for me, that I think it's still in that thing that you said earlier about you align. I think that it's an intentional thing, that when you ask to be in alignment, that I think that you are actually, I think we're always in alignment to something. It's just, what do I want to align with? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if I say my practice is I want to align with my heart. And so now you're going on an adventure, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going on that adventure. And what do I get to learn first? How do I know when I'm aligned with my heart? Right. And how do I know, like, what are the signs? Is it external signs? Is it internal signs? And I'm like, it's both and, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, I was working with a coach who kept getting me on track with staying focused on the launch. Stay on that launch. Don't you give up. Stay on it, stay on it, stay on it, stay on it. Right. And that's one way of doing it. And then it's then looking at it. Okay, well, looking at, the results, looking at your results, and then going, okay, what worked, what didn't work, kind of looking at it from the linear.
Mm-hmm.
But in that too, this is a really interesting thing that's kind of moving through right now too, because you can apply this to everyday life. When you want to create something in your world, and we go about it in this mechanical, linear way, right? And then it doesn't work out. Well, why? What did I do wrong? Right. And so that's what that opens the door up for, is what did I do wrong? But then I had to go, remember, you asked to be more aligned to your heart. You're now on this journey of aligning to your heart. And so what if it's really like you're not doing anything wrong, but it's really more like your heart's just not aligned to it. And so you're creating it so that it fails, so that you can really see, or you can ask yourself the question, do I really want to be doing this? And that's kind of where I was at in September. I really sat, I remember it was a full moon. I was sitting on my deck, bathing in the full moon, and I just closed my eyes and I tapped into my heart. And one of my guides, Grandmother Red Hawk, who's, you can't see her, she's kind of hiding around the corner, she filled my awareness. And she talks to me like, she uses the word child, my child, my child. And she's very grandmotherly and very nurturing. And I actually like kind of broke down into some tears, and she really just kind of she comforted me in the sense of like, just keep going. You're listening to your heart perfectly. What does your heart tell you now? And then I just like through tears just went, I don't want to do this anymore. I really just don't want to do this anymore. And so I went, and that's what I wrote the letter to my group. And it was really funny because I got emails from people that it triggered, like the fear, it brought up fear for them, or it brought up like, let me take care of you, oh, you must be hurting, you poor thing. And it was funny because I didn't share this part of the story till now, right? That's really what created the decision for me, is I really just I just went back to my heart and said, what do I really want? And it wasn't this, and now I'm on this other adventure of like, well, what does my heart really want to do? And then let me tell you, and then this because I've shared it with you, it's a real interesting journey, because I'm breaking like habits of waking up and checking my email, waking up and checking analytics. And I really get to see like how much weight that was really putting on me. And to not have that there, it's almost like, whew, what do I want to fill my time with now? So it's like getting back into my writing practice every morning and my channeling practice every morning. And, I'm actually, my husband has a company, Werewolf Gear, my husband is blind, and he developed a hiking cane for blind people. So it's a real sturdy cane. So if you're not blind, you wouldn't know this, but most canes are made they're not made to weight bear. They're made to just like let people who are sighted know that there's someone that has this disability and this is how they're feeling. They're feeling their surroundings and they're getting information from this cane. So he took that and the sturdiness of like a hiking pole and combined them. And so, that company is really taking off. So I just said, I really still like to do marketing. So I've joined their team and doing marketing and emails and blogging and stuff like that for them, which like is so funny because there's no pressure on. I can just like sit and write for a half hour and get like all my work done. And like, I still have plenty of time to create. So.
I love that. I love that. And it's true. What came to me, and I've talked about this a lot in my own community, is this need to produce, right? We live in this very masculine energy world, this cognitive, brain-centered world where everything we do must produce something. So if we're creating, we must be able to sell it. If we're, whatever is happening, there has to be an end result that somebody else values. Somebody else values it.
Yeah.
And there's no value for us when that happens, right? And so this has become a real thing. And I often ask women in my business community, like, do you really want a business or do you think you should have a business? Because those are two different things. Having a business is about serving. It's about being there for others and that fulfills you. If you think you should have a business, it's about selling. It's about making sure that you sell enough and it's pushing and pushing. And I know for my own self, I started in very much in I needed to do this to share with the world. But then I got caught up in that need to produce. And then that just bottlenecks everything, slows it all down.
Yep.
I struggled and struggled and struggled. And then when I was like, whoa, no, I need to realign again, back up a little bit. And it was like, no, it's just like so much easier. It's so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah. And
let go.
Yeah. That's the new earth, or I like to say cosmic consciousness now. I mean, I do use new earth because it's a word that's in our vernacular. It's known. Yeah. But it's the cosmic consciousness. And like, I'll define that too, because I've been asked like, well, what does that mean? But it's like the knowledge that we live on an earth that's part of a bigger system and that we're not just segregated here, right? So there's a whole cosmos, and I hesitate to say out there, but that's part of, our language will help us understand that like surrounding us, we're part of it all. So it's getting into that mindset of that you're part of. And that like when you start coming from that alignment, right, you have to use your soul as the vehicle, right? Not your personality, not your, I want to say your ego story or your victim story or, your I need to make money story or, because we all need to right now because that's the world we live in, right? But if we're coming from there, right, it's misaligned to your energetics, your energetic patterns, your energetic blueprint, the reason you came here. And that's where we start having health problems. We start having health problems when we're out of alignment because it's like you're trying to jam that square peg into the round hole, right? And that's that male energy, right? And it's funny, I heard a speaker the other day talking about male and female energy, and we have this like delineation of it. And it was so interesting the way they put it because it made me laugh. We're the ones that put that on there. It's by our definition in this, I say Kaipacha, but this world, right? This world that we live in, right? So when you start shifting and aligning to your heart energy, that actually plugs you into a higher grid, which is that That's the alignment of the cosmic consciousness. And yeah, I'm making that up too, right? Because it's like, if we're going to tell stories, right? Let's get on board with the story that empowers you, and not just empowers you, but empowers all. Right?
Yeah.
Mm.
And you and I have talked about this a fair bit, but that energy of what is the best for all, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we don't come from that in this society.
No.
Not at all. And so as we are noticing this shift
Mm-hmm.
into this more collective energy, we're seeing little pockets of it popping up all over the place. And
Yeah.
some will be businesses, and some will be just sharings, and some will be books, and some will be whatever it is. Little pockets of this is now expanding on that
Mm-hmm.
collective energy, the collective knowing. And it's been really fascinating to watch as someone who feels like they're part of it, right? I feel like I'm in it. And it's really fascinating to watch the shifts that are happening. And I think when we, just to come back to sort of business and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
shifts that are happening there, when we can align in a way that works for our soul, for our best, and this business is, stop putting the energy into the business, and we put the energy into sharing the knowledge in whatever way that is. The business pieces become, I don't want to say they're easy, but they become less burdensome.
Yes. Yeah. Very well said. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's just like it's moving the message forward as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to being the thing you have to do,
Yeah.
right? And so the energy is completely different when
Right.
you're coming from that space.
Yeah. And I would say, like, in all honesty, towards the end of, I want to say not the end of the year because we're there, but like from May onward, that's where I feel like that was a big shift for me when my dad died.
Mhm.
Um, and like, that was like that shift that, yeah, I felt, but I didn't know what it was. But that's what I was coming from. I was coming from, I'm burdened. I'm tired all the time. That I'm feeling drained. And I'd ask myself, where am I leaking my energy? But I'm still not getting it, because it's like, and that's okay, because sometimes that's part of the journey. That is part of the journey. Because, like, we live in a world of polarities, right? And you can't know one thing without going through the other. We have to know the other end of that, right?
Mhm.
We just have to. We learn. That's how we're learning. Unfortunately, we've been taught, like, don't go down that path. It's the wrong path, right? Because it's just going to end in trouble. And we do that with each other too. Like, oh, several well-meaning friends will say, like, oh, I've done that. Don't go there. Follow your heart. Just follow your heart wherever it leads you, because it's going to lead you down the path that's going to get you the most, I'd say, jewels, because they're jewels, the wisdom that you gain from going down the wrong path and staying there for a while is a jewel.
Oh yeah, yeah. As someone who took a complete face plant just recently in September, I have to say it has opened so many things for me, and just from that it's been amazing, right? So it's not like we're never going to have a hardship, or we're never going to be what we may deem as the wrong path.
Yeah.
We often we often are led that way to be able to go where we need to go, right? It's part of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an error. It's part of the journey. And yeah, I think that's really important part of it as well.
Yeah. You just struck something, like, of course, September was our month, right? That's why
Yeah.
we hang out, because
Yeah.
we have such alignment. We are very aligned.
We are very aligned.
I was like, oh yeah, that's right. That happened in September, right? So
Yes,
it's a big
yes.
transformation, right? And as you're talking, I'm going, like, it's interesting what we're talking about right now. So what I kind of notice in people that I work with, or that I've come in contact with, who want to start a business, or that are maybe even in a business, is, first of all, get out of the right or wrong mentality, and that just go on the ride. And, second of all, just go on the ride. Just go on the ride. People are standing at that doorway wondering, should I, who am I, who am I to do this? Who do I think I am? You're a human being that lives on a planet at this time of transformation. You were born here for a reason. You chose it. If you're being guided and it feels aligned to you, just freaking jump into the pool already, right? Get wet.
Step off that cliff now.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll sort it out later.
And it sorts itself out, right?
It
sorts
does.
itself out. Yeah.
It does. It's all mindset. It really is. It's all mindset. You can make it hard or easy. You can learn from like, oh, geez, I made it hard. Da, da, da. Whatever. We're human. And I love what you said too. It's like, don't think because you're in the shit right now, pardon my French, that you're in the shit right now, that you're doing something wrong. It's called life.
Mm-hmm.
Life has twists, turns, ups, downs. It's the roller coaster. We all signed up for it.
Mm-hmm.
So being in protection, and I understand that if you've had trauma, that you're going to be in that, your protective mechanisms are going to be like alarm belling off all the time. I've been there too. That's why I do the work that I do, because I've been through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here to say that you can get through it. Get what you need to get through it. And maybe that's the next step for you is not starting the business. Maybe the step is dealing with the alarm bells that keep going off because they're sending false information.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking you're aligning, but those bells are too loud to feel the alignment. And it's really a feel.
Mm-hmm.
A feel. So yeah, big advocate for, taking care of your trauma first. You don't have to live in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't even imagine if I hadn't moved forward from that, I would have, yeah. Deb, as always, I want to thank you so much. I love our conversations. It's the reason why we talk so often.
Me too. And happy December 1st too. I got to say, it's awesome that it's December 1st that we're doing this.
Well, and plus temperatures, well, of course, where you are, there's plus temperatures. I'm in Canada, so plus temperatures is pretty amazing. But so I'm pretty happy. Our environment might not be. Any final thoughts before we go today?
Actually, no, I think I just want to reiterate, just whatever it is that you need to do for you, take a moment, either do it now, close your eyes really quick, close your eyes and just put your hand on your heart, just touch into your heart and just start that connection. Just start the connection. And if you already have that connection built, start a relationship with it. And what does that look like for you? And that's the only thing I would say. Get that relationship going and go on that ride. And it can look like anything. It could look like a business. It could look like sabbatical that will become a business later. It's all a journey.
It is absolutely all a journey. Well, again, I want to thank you. I just have that. For those who are listening, thank you for being here. And if you're listening in the replay, we will be here every 2 weeks now. So which is awesome, live, which is, thank you, Deb, for putting us over the finish line there.
Anytime.
If you're a woman interested in aligning your heart-centered business with your ethics, values, and life goals, join our Aligned Business Building Mastermind. Like-minded women who become your business colleagues to share the journey with you. Resources and training, so much more. And you can get 90% off your first 30 days. And for the cost of a latte, you can begin to align your business. And I've just added that in the chat, and it will also be in the links below as soon as everything uploads. And thank you. And we will see you next time on the Aligned Ambitions Show. And push a button, Larissa. And end the thing.